People like Wilma Lee and Stoney Cooper, dignity,
Yes,
mountain dignity. Your husband has said they represented mountain dignity at its finest.
yes,
And
they did.
getting to be around these people, just precious people and unique stylists. You said in an interview we did once years ago, you said you felt so fortunate when you got into the industry because back then there was room for everybody
But
as
only
long
one
as
of
you were
each.
different.
That's right.
Only one of each.
But you know one thing about Wilma Lee and Stoney was such a gentleman as well, and he could handle it. But when Stoney was gone, had passed away, Wilma Lee was one of the best hosts I think that's ever been on the Opry. She was like Jimmy Dickens. She knew exactly the right words to say, and she said it clearly. She knew what she was going to say, and as well as her great singing, she was an awesome MC.
Wow. There's so much that we can still learn from those people. Even though they're not around, we can go back and learn to listen to those recordings, certainly, how they sang and how they presented themselves, but listen to those live programs and how they handled a show.
That's right.
They were truly masterful people. Television shows that took place here at the Ryman, they would frequently happen, like the early CMA shows. I know you got to be here for those because you were nominated for a number of awards. What was it like sitting in the pews out there at the Ryman watching these big television productions coming from here?
Well, it was awesome. You know, I mean, it was. We thought we were uptown. You know, to have them come and to put another little bit of spice to what we were already doing here, and to present it to a larger audience. We were proud of that.
Mm-hmm. The Johnny Cash show took place here for 3 years, and that was seen every week on the CBS network. Did you ever get to be a guest on his show?
Yes, I was a guest on his show, I think in 1968, and the same show I was on, Eric Clapton was also a guest.
Wow.
Just him and his guitar. Yeah.
How about that? Wow.
And also when I remember I was on the CMA Awards show once or twice, but I also know I was a presenter one time, and I got to present with Farron Young. And I don't know how publicly, but I know in the business, Farron was pretty well known for his mouth. he didn't have a filter. And I remember when we walked out that night, you know, everybody was kidding about me and Farron, you know, because I'm a big mouth Christian. So I walked out and I told Farron, if you won't cuss them, I won't bless them.
Did he agree?
Oh, yeah, I loved Farron. Yeah, he agreed.
So you both held up your end of the battle then.
That's right.
Your husband, Marty Stuart, came here to play mandolin for Lester Flatt. He got here in the latter part of 1972. So the Opry would have still been here for about a year and a half maybe before it went out to the big house, as we call it, the Grand Ole Opry House. Do you have any memories of this hotshot mandolin picker kid, like 13 years old in those days, 13, 14?
I don't. I may have seen him, but I did not know Marty actually until about 94 when I really really met him.
Between the Opry leaving the Ryman in 1974 and its grand renovation reopening in 1994, were there reasons for you ever to come down here for anything and be a part of anything that you recall?
Not that I can bring to mind at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And to think this place was possibly going to be torn down is just a heartbreaking thought. But
Yes.
The powers that be and God intervened, and
That's
it
right.
was saved.
It was.
Because
I'm so thankful.
Oh, we all are. We all are, because there's no other stage like this in the world, and no other room.
It is
like this.
worldwide known, and the most artists, even whatever genre they're in, they want to perform at this place.
Well, for a number of years, it's been on the National Register of Historic Landmarks, so this facility is protected now.
That's good.
We won't have to worry about the wrecking ball or potential wrecking ball ever again. What was the feeling like when you came in this venue for the first time after the restoration and renovation?
Well, it was so totally different, except when you walked out on stage, and you had that same aura around it that we felt when we were here in the beginning. And we still love to go out on the Ryman stage and sing.
Nothing was lost acoustically then.
No, it's nice to have a little heat and air. It's nice to have a place to change clothes, but I'm so glad that the stage area did not change.
Yeah. The creature comforts have gotten a lot better. Plus, it's a lot more television friendly.
Yes.
Just think we're upstairs in one of the dressing rooms, and we're surrounded by a bunch of great people here, at the members of the Opry. We would have never had this years
A new
ago.
Hall of Famer up there,
Yeah, Charlie Daniels up there on the wall, who you and Marty Stuart inducted into the Opry on the stage of the Ryman, as
Yes.
a matter of fact. And that's got to be mighty special when you can take part in an induction, and here's somebody that's older than you, been in the business for many more years. He was a professional performer probably 10 years or so before you got into the business.
Yeah, and for us to be asked to induct him, that was really an honor.
Wow,
He's
that's
quite a gentleman.
yeah, absolutely, and very deserving too.
Yes.
And especially when you can help bring somebody into the family that you feel like has been a part of the family, although not officially.
That's right.
But
It felt like he had been.
Yeah, but it's like they're officially married in now,
Yeah.
if you will. This building initially opened in 1892, and this is the 125th anniversary year of this building. Originally, it was called the Union Gospel Tabernacle. It was a church, and there's still church services that are held in here, and all gospel concerts from time to
Sunday
time.
Morning Country has been here.
Yes, it has been in the past. And it's only appropriate that this be the site of homegoing services, celebrations of life,
Yes.
memorial services for those who've, as George Hamilton IV would say, they've not gone away, they've just gone before.
Yes.
And we'll get to see those people again. You've been asked to be a part of a number of those homegoing services to sing. Bill Monroe, who passed in September of 1996. I remember sitting out there in the pews, and it was a quite solemn affair. This elder statesman, a pillar of the Grand Ole Opry, a man so closely associated with a single style of country music, just an amazing figure. And you came out and you sang How Great Thou Art. And the feeling had been, as I said, pretty solemn throughout. But you like to have raised the rafters on this building that day. And from that point on, it was a whole different feel with that homegoing service.
Well, it's just true to the Scripture. The Scripture says God inhabits the praises of his people, and that song is a song of praise to him, and it's got to change things.
Well, it really did, and I know God had his hand on you because you had come all night, if my memory's right, from Pennsylvania to be here. And, his hand was clearly on everything, but it just took everything, and it was an uplifting time. Even amidst the sadness, you had the ability with your voice and that song, and those hearts were open, thankfully, to uplift things.
Yes.
Other people whose services you've sang at, I remember you being a part of Justin Tubbs' service here, Teddy Wilburns, George Hamilton IV, Jimmy C. Newman. There may have been others too, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. What's that feeling like for you to be asked to come and honor people who you're fans of, fellow Opry members, but also people who've been friends to you through the years?
Well, it's hard in a way, but in another way, it's the greatest gift that I can give them at that time.
Well, you've uplifted a lot of hearts in those situations, for sure. We talked about the Ryman being a lot more television friendly since its renovations. You've gotten to be a part of a number of shows that have happened from here.
Yes.
It's a whole lot easier now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
With the dressing room facilities.
Yeah, it makes it nice.
Yeah, and people can see you from this building and all the big zoom cameras, and they can get up close and they can be far away. So for people who only wondered what it was like years ago listening to the radio, they've gotten to see a lot of things special come from here at the Ryman Auditorium. 2017, this is the 125th anniversary year of the Ryman Auditorium. But this year will also mark the 16th anniversary of a program called Marty Stewart's Late Night Jam.
That's right.
And that's always held each year just before CMA Music Festival starts, or some people still call it Fanfare. It's sort of like the unofficial kickoff on Wednesday night. And it goes to largely benefit Music Cares, which is a wonderful charity that's out there. It's Marty's signature charity that he's aligned himself with to help musicians, performers, folks from all aspects of country music in time of dire need. And over the years, they've raised an astronomical amount of money for folks. You've been a part of every one of those.
Yes, and my unbiased opinion is that he's the greatest talent in this world. So I am so glad. Just to get to watch him work or even do an interview is one of my greatest pleasures. And to get to for him to ask me every year to be a part of this, it still means just as much as it did the first year. And because I get to see the show firsthand from backstage, and it's wonderful. And you never know who's going to come in. You know, they may be doing an award show across the street, and next thing you know, they're on the stage of the Ryman singing on the late night jam. I think one year we had Little Big Town and Chris Stapleton all at the same time. They just came in, you know, and Raul used to come in every now and then and just we'd get him up to do a song. It's wonderful.
There's a lot of love that takes place during that show, and there's collaborations between Marty and the performers on stage. Sam Moore was here one year.
Marty got him singing a country song. George Jones.
But it was great, and you know, people like Earl Scruggs and Porter Wagner and Jimmy Dickens, they were here for earlier programs that Marty had, and it truly is a late night.
Yes.
We start at 10 o'clock at night, and then after it runs like 3.5 hours. Sometimes 4 hours, no intermission. And then when it's all done, Marty, his band, the Superlatives, Fabulous Superlatives, yourself, all go upstairs and autograph until the last person leaves.
That's right. When we there's been a couple times we couldn't, but most of the time we're right up there.
And looking at the clock when you're leaving.
There's been times when the sun was coming up when we got home. Yeah.
We left here one night, and it was about 3:45 in the morning, and I told you and Marty, I said, if we can just wait 15 more minutes, we can find us a cow to milk on the way home.
I remember that, yes. And you know, also, there's one great thing that's happened at the jam here at the Ryman is Marty has had people on stage because he's got this ability, you know, he's just got such a visionary mind, and he's had people on that were just getting started, like Eric Church, you know, like Keith Urban and folks before they got really hot. You know?
Dirk Bentley's another one, too.
Yeah, that's right. So, and then I think Miranda Lambert was supposed to be on a long time ago, but she passed out. She got too scared. It was when she was first getting started, and she didn't make it to the stage. But there's been so many great people on. I think last year we had Maren Morris on, and now look at her.
Oh, absolutely. And you never know what you're going to see or who you're going to see at that
That's
program.
right.
It's just a special time. So we want to encourage the viewer to come and be a part of that if they possibly can, because it's always, I like to say it's the greatest show, or the best show, if you will, either or. It is the greatest and the best, in my opinion, of the whole fanfare CMA Music Fest experience, because people get to hear a lot of great music, a lot of wonderful performances.
They even get to hear Eddie Stubbs play fiddle.
Well, Marty twists my arm to do that for the dancers sometimes, most every year, actually. But there's a big difference between a concert and a show. And when they come to that, it's truly a show. So that's something that goes on every year. We hope the viewer will come and
We
be a
also
part of
have
it.
something really special on that too, Eddie. It's the audience. They come from France and Germany and all over the world because they've listened to this and they know about it. And so the audience is there, ready for whatever Marty presents, and he knows how to do it, and he knows how to. He has this uncanny, just the gift of reconciliation. He can mix all kinds of music and all kinds of instruments and all that, and it always turns out great.
He really does. He's truly a masterful performer. He's a genius in bringing all these different styles of music together, and he'll have a lineup that's already been announced, if you will, with people you definitely want to see. But when the tickets go on sale, people start buying them without the lineup even being announced because they trust him so much.
That's right, and they can.
And it doesn't get any better than that. The Opry comes back here to the Ryman every year during the winter months. It started doing that in 1999 for the first time, and we've gravitated to being here for 3 months, November, December, and January. And while a lot has changed over the years since you were here in the 60s and early 70s, there's still a lot of things that remain the same, too.
Yes.
Talk about some of the things that are the same from the old days.
Well, it's like so many of the artists, that anybody loves to perform here, but we're always glad to come back because it's like coming back home. Even though we love the Opry House, this is like coming back home. And as you said earlier, I was on 2 days after I recorded, and nobody knew who I was, but they also gave me such great reception. And I just a few years ago started hosting. They had asked me years ago, and I turned it down because I was too scared and think I'd rather be a guest, and I knew I'd blow it, and I do from time to time, but I get a name backwards or whatever. But it's I agreed to be a host, and so now I get to be one of the hosts of some of the segments on the Grand Ole Opry, and we still have people come in, people that I've never met and I've never heard of, come in and on stage. They've gotten a deal with a record company, or they've written hit songs and they want to start out on their own. And so one thing that is the same is it still has all the older artists that are here coming in and the ones that are members, but it has guests coming in to present what they have to offer, and it's exciting.
And I'm sure in the back of your mind, when you're presenting somebody for the first time, you're probably thinking back about being on this stage for the first time, and Bill Anderson introduced you that night, but you hearken back to people like Roy Acuff and Ernest Tubb and Lester Flatt, who were such great MCs, and Stoney Cooper was a fine MC, yes, too. Those people introducing this young talent that's fairly new to the business, even if they've been here a few times. I'm sure that's probably in the back of your mind, isn't it?
And one of my favorite introductions was Grandpa Jones. As he got older and got to where he couldn't remember things really well, I was standing there ready to go on one night, and he introduced me, and he gave me the sweetest introduction. I was so proud that Grandpa would say those things about me, and then he turned around and looked at me, and he had no idea. He said, "Come on out here and tell them who you are."
And you did?
Oh, I did, and I wouldn't have traded that. That was one of my favorite introductions of all time.
Is there anything, as a 50-plus year member of the Grand Ole Opry, that you'd like to do or be a part of in this building that hasn't happened thus far?
Boy, I don't know. I have been so blessed, way above what I ever thought of. And that scripture, God says He's able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all we ask or think. That has happened in my life and has happened here at the Grand Ole Opry. From holding up the curtain when it didn't come up for Roy Acuff, one time on the Grand Ole Opry, and me and Jimmy Dickens, the shortest people at the Opry, and just so many things that have happened, to be able to meet some of the presidents. I've met several presidents here, either at the Ryman or at the Opry House and all of that. But so I can't really say. I just want to continue on and be here as long as I can.
Well, I certainly hope that comes to fruition. Maybe a live album of Connie Smith and the Sundowners from the Ryman might be in your future.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yes, sir.
Connie, in those times you were guesting on the Opry a lot in the 60s before you became a member in 1965, so this would have been somewhere in 64 or 65. You had something happen to you really special here at the Ryman.
Yes. My favorite girl singer of all these years has been Loretta Lynn. And I came one night to the Opry. I wasn't on, I wasn't guesting, I wasn't a member, but I came just because she was on. And so I was backstage, and she saw me. And she came over and started talking to me. She said, "What time are you on?" And I said, "I'm not on tonight. I just came to hear you." And she said, "What? You got the #1 record in the country, and you're not on? You got to be on the Grand Ole Opry. You're going to sing with me." So she called me out to sing, and I was a fan of hers. I knew every song that she did. And so her hit record at that time was Happy Birthday, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. So she introduced me on the Opry about my record and everything, and then I sang harmony with her on Happy birthday, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. And I had told it so many times over the years, I thought, people are going to think I was lying because I don't have any proof of that. And they put it out on a Cracker Barrel record for Loretta, and they even left the introduction on, and so it was great. I was really proud of that.
It's committed.
Yep, it's to history. Yeah.
It is. You weren't pulling anybody's leg. It
No,
actually
sir.
happened. Wow, what a special story.
Yes.
Do you have an all-time favorite memory of things that have happened here?
Well, I have several. You know, I have the fact that when I had my two sons that were here, that are Darren's my oldest, and he was 5 when Carrie was born, and Carrie was 5 when my girls were each a year apart after that. But I used to bring them down here when I was by myself, and Darren was as I say, he was a little bigger than Carrie, maybe 7, and when I would go out on stage, Carrie would get scared, and he'd come running out there, and I had to hold him while I was singing so he wouldn't cry. And one night he started climbing up over my shoulder, and I had to try to sing and keep him from going over the back. And then another night I was singing, "There ain't no chain strong enough to hold me," and I had him. I was carrying him because he wouldn't be over on the other side with anybody, and he sang every word to that song, and I almost dropped him. I didn't know he even knew it, but he knew every word to that song.
I'll be there.
Mama, yeah, he'd heard his mama sing it so many times. He knew it all, and it was so cute. I wish I had a copy of that one. But probably Wilma Lee was one of the best hosts, I think, that's ever been on the Opry. She was like Jimmy Dickens. She knew exactly the right words to say, and she said it clearly. She knew what she was going to say, and as well as her great singing, she was an awesome MC.
Wow.